Namaste, beautiful yogis. Welcome to Ali Kamenova Yoga. I'm Ali, and today we're doing balance your hormones naturally topic from my perspective, from a yogic perspective, from a natural perspective, blended with um, um, with other perspectives too. So I've been diving into this whole hormone thing for what 2 years, just to wrap my head around very opposing views. I've been looking at all the doctors on YouTube and social media. I like to read books that are naturopathic, natural books. I like to read studies for myself to see what they're talking about when they cite studies, because sometimes I don't see what they're talking about when I go read the study. So even though people will tell you how they interpret the study, the problem is that that's their bias, and also the people who conducted the studies might have had bias, plus the mistakes that happen during a study. So, studies are to be taken with a grain of salt, but at the same time, they can give us some clues, not the whole picture. Now, most women have some form of hormone imbalance due to how polluted our environment is, and the underlying cause of all hormonal imbalance, or almost all, and oftentimes this is the one thing that's completely ignored by, say, menopause doctors, is the health of the liver, and not just looking at liver enzymes or just your blood test, but looking at levels of phthalates in the body, heavy metals in the body, and so forth, the other pollutants in the body. So women who have more symptoms, menopausal or PMS symptoms, test way higher in those pollutants, in heavy metals and in phthalates from plastics. They're really difficult to avoid, but there is a way to detox them, many ways. In fact, softer ways. I'll probably talk about just the softer stuff because the other one is full on, kind of more hardcore. But we're gonna talk how to begin to balance the body. Now, hormone imbalance is horrible, can be horrible, because it's a cascade down effect from organ imbalance. Then the hormones are imbalanced, and then the processes in the body are imbalanced. If we're stressed out, if we don't sleep, then this is a further cascade effect. So it is really good to look at the body as a one organism, rather than just to look at the hormones and say, oh, menopausal woman, she has lower progesterone, let's give her progesterone. That will make a person really feel good, because we're giving them something that will make them feel better. But if we're not addressing the whole body, it's patch-up work. It's not going to work long term the way we want it to work. So when we look at hormones, the first thing to look at is liver health. Whether a person is taking hormone therapy or herbal hormone therapy, I'll mention a lot about it later, and maybe in future videos I'll continue, because I'm doing a lot of herbal hormone therapy, and I'll tell you why. And some bioidentical over the counter, and I'll tell you why. But the first and most important thing, in my opinion, is to look at the liver health. The liver is responsible for removing a lot of the toxicity in the body, a lot of the heavy metals that can cause a lot of hormonal imbalances, organ imbalances, and the liver removes excess estrogen, is responsible for production and removal of hormones. So it's really important. If the liver is not working, we're just going to be fighting an uphill battle. When I see menopause doctors, I recommend full-on HRT, super high estrogen, no downsides to just jacking yourself up to your levels when you were 20. And then I look at what they recommend for food. I kind of lose trust in those people, because they recommend non-organic dairy, lots of protein in that dairy, in that non-organic dairy. They recommend a lot of non-organic products and a lot of coffee. I don't know if they recommend organic or non-organic, but a lot of coffee for fasting and so forth. So it makes me raise an eyebrow. I don't want to, you know, like go at it, but there is a missing link here, because if we don't clean up the liver and we're just taking hormones, we're missing the point. We're not understanding the body. Cleaning up the liver is step one. Now, how you clean the liver, there is so many layers of cleaning the liver. I personally like whole foods as the first base layer of cleaning the liver. Apples and oranges, fantastic, because they have pectin. Pectin as an isolate is shown to remove a lot of the heavy metals from the body. Arsenic, aluminum, and so forth. Cilantro is shown to remove mercury and other heavy metals from the body. Then you get herbs that stimulate the liver to also remove more, such as my favorite at the moment, and they change, is milk tea. So it's very gentle, it doesn't give you any kind of detox side effects, and it feels great. It's absolutely my favorite. Now, I was researching, and psyllium has some of the same benefits of milk tea. So they're seeds, both of them are seeds, and psyllium, that's taken for constipation or as a fiber supplement, actually has really good liver properties. Psyllium. Now, there is other more involved things that someone that's kind of really diving into these types of topics, which I'm one of those people, but you have to be on that kind of tangent wavelength to do it. There is zeolites, there's clays, there's charcoal in the foods. So there's pectin, but in the foods, I feel, from oranges and apples, and also avocados, very high in glutathione. Glutathione as a supplement also is shown. NAC as a supplement is shown. Pine extracts are really good for binding certain things in the body and carrying them out. So there is a lot of molecules that are very alkaline, and they're gonna bind to specifically the very acidic pollutants and carry them out. They're chelators. Chelators attach and don't let go, especially strong chelators. When we move stuff out of the body, we overall improve every symptom that we're dealing with, not just the hormones. Baking soda is very alkaline, also has lots of application. Boron is a very essential mineral, and those are just kind of things to research on, possibly a rumble. Now, lymph is the next. If the lymph is not moving, it's just, we're gonna constantly need external hormones, external patching up for our body to just function. It will be again a battle. If the liver and the lymph are not working properly, also weight loss is difficult, sleeping is difficult, especially that 3 o'clock in the morning insomnia. It's from liver imbalance, active liver, because the liver is unsettled, it's processing too much toxicity. Also, a lot of terrible fats, like the plant oils that are rancid, seed oils, they can really strain the liver. So, you know, fats from olives, from avocados, those are great, from coconut. Butter, I think, is okay, but I don't eat butter, so I'm not going to speak about it, because I personally have to speak from experience. And movement reduces stress, moves the lymph. Now, entering into our PMS and menopause have a lot of parallels. Now, in menopause, one of the things that are treated with estrogen therapy is bone health, because there is bone loss as we lose estrogen. Now, estrogen can be kept higher with a little bit of fat on the body, with progesterone. Bone health can be maintained with progesterone, exercise, strength building, resistance building, with weight, with body weight, with bands, yoga bands, with certain yoga exercises, with functional movement, with jumping, and vibration plates. I'll try to mention those things in the notes. Vibration plates, I will test them out. I'll buy a vibration plate sometime soon, and I'll report back. But with bone health, unless you're screening them, you don't really know the effects exactly of certain things. Now, progesterone in this book is really beautiful. He's really big on bioidentical progesterone derived from EMs. Now, even though it's bioidentical, it's not exactly bioidentical because it is plant estrogen synthesized in a lab. So it's not quite, you take, I think, African or maybe South American, I think, yams. It's not the yams we eat. It's not sweet potatoes. and you just eat them. That's not this type of yams. This is a molecule that is like the human progesterone molecule, because plants and humans have evolved together, and a lot of the plant molecules are bioidentical. When you get soy estrogen, it's bioidentical. Even testosterone can be derived from soy. So we get a lot from plants, whether you do the whole plant or you do bioidentical hormones, because they imitate that same molecule, except for it's not the same. The human molecule is the human molecule. So for progesterone, he highly recommends the cream. I have it and I use it in my luteal phase. It is quite natural. It's over the counter. It's not invasive. I'm not aware of any negative side effects. I use it in tiny little amounts, not even the recommended. It can help with sleep, with stress. I personally, because perimenopause, we enter it in sometime in our 40s. I had no awareness of any symptoms until we started to move, and moving is for me possibly the most stressful thing I could ever do. I think for most people that can be the case, especially when it's very complicated and when I have to travel on top of it a lot. So I started to feel lower capacity to handle stress. Just I capped off. Like there was certain amount of stress that I couldn't deal anymore with. And a little more PMS symptoms. Oh, and one of the main symptoms that clued me in was a shorter cycle length. So instead of my typical, say, 28 days or 29 days, it became more like 25. And I know that's a sign for me. So I figured, okay, time to include some herbs, time to include certain things, so that I feel relaxed, I feel stress-free, and I know that I'm in balance. Liver, I think it's the main portion of that. For us to really feel in balance, we have to have a functional liver. We have to have the lymph moving, which is, as I'm in sauna. A sauna really helps with that. Now, hot flashes are further into menopause. One thing that really helps with hot flashes is sauna. Women with hot flashes, again, have higher levels of metals in the body. Sauna helps us detox a lot of that, helps us move stuff out of the body. There's Vitex that directly helps with hot flashes and other hormonal issues. I love Vitex for the way the tree looks. I don't know who says that, but it's the most beautiful tree I've ever seen. So I have a personal attraction to the tree, which is kind of like a plant spirit medicine, plant communication. The tree is, I think, connected to Demeter, the mother of Persephone. So it's a symbol of Mother Earth, or an earthy energy. It's absolutely gorgeous. There's some very feminine aspect to that tree. The way it forms, it's absolutely gorgeous. It has a purple flower. The berries are what typically is used for medicine. It's really powerful. I can only take it a little bit because it gives me gastrointestinal issues. So kind of like if I take it, and I unfortunately got a very strong dose from Gaia herbs. It's so strong that I can only take it a little bit because it gives me almost like the feeling of I've overeaten and I'm super nauseous. Not the best feeling. I need it in a smaller dose. And I have it in combinations of smaller dose, but as a single herb, I have it in super high dose, and I can only take it a little bit and away from food, and not around bedtime because it wakes me up with the feeling of, which is a side effect of Vitex, and that's why it's good to have it in a dropper form so you can control the amount. I don't need a whole lot. Otherwise, for hot flashes, sage is really good. It's more like lowering the stress levels. Lemon balm, same, lowering stress levels so one can sleep. Reishi is that. Ashwagandha is a little bit more on the energizing, so if someone is depressed, an upper is a little better. Something like ashwagandha, something that builds energy, to where if someone is overwhelmed, too much energy, something that calms you down is better. So there's different herbs to be taken for hot flashes or for any symptom, depending on the rest of the person. We can just, that's the thing with herbalism or with medicine, you can't treat a symptom. If you treat a hot flash, we don't know anything about the person. We don't know what bothers them. Germanic New Medicine is not taken into account to see when the symptoms started, and that is part of the resolution. Part of resolving our diseases is understanding the trauma, shock trauma that started it. Usually symptoms start with an event. They don't start out of nowhere. They will start on an emotional level, even if there is physical reasons. Because energy precedes form. Emotions are closer on the energy side. Thoughts, emotions, physical symptoms. And those are the types of symptoms that people get from hormonal imbalance. They can be physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, or mental symptoms. So mental would be like foggy mind, just inability to think properly, stuff like that. Now I was reading, as I mentioned, hot flashes really respond well to sauna, because sauna helps with, first of all, losing excess weight, with insulin resistance, cognitive issues. Sauna can help with cognitive issues, which is one of the symptoms of hormonal imbalance. So it's absolutely fantastic. If you've never done sauna, you have to start small, like as if with everything else. If you start an exercise routine, you have to start small. Another amazing herb for hormones in women, postmenopausal, menopausal, premenopause, black cohosh. It's a little for the darker moods, an herb for a little more negative or darker brooding moods. So if you feel kind of darker moods around hormonal imbalance, you can experiment with the herb, look at the herb, see what attracts you. Because I think with plant medicine, it's really powerful, and it allows us to connect on a deeper level with our own self, the way we do on the mat, and with the herb. An herb will give you something very unique to you if you connect from that level, if you're not treating symptoms, if you're not taking this for that. That is very much the Western mind, and I think it can only go so far. Yes, in emergency, even in situations where a person is not able to cope with their life, patching up things is great, because it lets you reset, relax, and then you can approach healing. But if you're in a position to continuously readjust your lifestyle, it's good to look at herbs, to look at things, and just continuously flow and adjust things, so that you're constantly cleansing, building, detoxing, moving, healing, etc. So it's a continuous dance. Another thing that can work with hormones, I wouldn't say it balances them because it depends, but I made a whole video, and that video is the least popular video on my channel. I didn't promote it because I almost feel like it's not for everybody, so I figured I would just keep it kind of quiet. Is the yoni egg. Those are crystals. I'm not going to say too much because I kind of feel that it's not a welcome topic here but they can be very helpful for pelvic floor health. Pelvic floor is one thing and vaginal health is one thing. Again, another word that I don't think I'll mention one more time because I don't want this video to get buried either. That is certain things that we have to address in any time in life, let alone, you know, menopause. Anyways, so I have jotted down some notes because otherwise it's too big of a topic for me to just so protein intake, that is another thing that is kind of a big topic around menopause. And my take on it is the following. There is one very interesting study, very long. If I have not closed it down, I'll link it if you have the patience to read through studies for yourself because it's interesting. My take is, if you're extremely active, you can increase your protein. If you're not very active, definitely don't take excess protein because it leaches, it speeds up bone resorption, breaking down of bone. So it actually leads to bone loss if we take excess protein. That makes sense because protein is acidic, and we have to really consider how the pH of things affects us. I've been really diving down on the whole pH thing, but that is for another topic, for probably another platform. I won't say too much there, but we don't want to over acidify the body and hyper focus on protein because it can lead to weight gain, the acidifying of the body. If it's animal protein, it also can lead to kidney issues or deepen them if they already exist, and it can also affect the heart health. So from what I was reading, very surprising, but soy protein slows down and stops bone resorption, so bone loss, because soy is estrogenic. Estrogen in general prevents bone resorption, bone loss. So it has certain effects, certain molecules, estrogenic molecules, that stop the bone loss in the bones, but it doesn't lead to bone necessarily osteoblasts, so to bone building. What leads to that is progesterone. And John R. Lee has fantastic graphs. Let me see if I can show you. In his book, this is a graph, I've shared it on Instagram, but this is a graph of let me see if I can zoom it in. So this is a graph of bone loss or bone building. The top line is progesterone, so 3-year chart. Older women and younger, all ages of women with bone loss, progesterone builds bone in 3 years. The cream, I didn't bring my cream, but I will link it in the notes. The middle line is estrogen. Women supplemented with estrogen. There's no loss, there's no gain of bone. They're already osteoporotic. The central line, that is your like baseline, and the bottom line is women on no therapy at all, so they're continuing to lose bone. That is an example that estrogen just stops further bone loss but cannot help with building bone if there is bone loss, but progesterone can. And the progesterone he recommends, I'll link my below. It's bioidentical, over the counter, pretty inexpensive. It is put on the skin. This is not the only graph he offers. There is different graphs that he shows that show the effect of progesterone on building bone, because when estrogen drops in menopause, one of the main symptoms is bone loss. Bone loss is quiet, we don't know about it. That's why I'm studying it, because those are some things that go on for years without symptoms. The way we address bone loss is strength building, movement, eating a balanced diet. There is a lot of studies on diet and a lot of disagreement on diet. My personal approach is to focus more on alkalinity from foods. I don't do well on, I did an experiment while I was in Bulgaria out of necessity. I did animal protein from Jersey cows. We live next to a store, fantastic store in as far as this type of stuff goes. Raw kefir from ancient breeds of cows, so Jersey and an ancient Bulgarian cow, that's the oldest cow in Europe, and they had raw kefir and Jersey cottage cheese. So I didn't often have time to go get food for myself. Traveling is absolutely my least favorite thing in the world, but I do it all the time. Anyways, I did an experiment, and by the end, out of necessity, and I figured, well, let's see what it is about this whole raw kefir. Not that I've never tried it before. I've tried raw kefir back in the day, and it immediately causes phlegm in my throat. Anyways, this time I did it, and I ended up with absolutely filling my kidneys. Kind of aching, deep aching, feeling non-stop in my kidneys. I'm very connected to my kidneys, and as long as I eat the way I eat, they're happy. We're all happy. But with higher protein intake that is not plant protein, I felt them after a few weeks. So that was that with that experiment. For me, I'm telling you, for me, I'm gonna focus on moderate protein intake. Actually, that's considered slightly high, because I can easily on a plant-based diet get 60 to 80, on many days 80 grams of protein without really trying too hard, and without even adding a protein supplement. If I add protein supplement, it gets easier. Say some days I'm not gonna eat edamame or something, then I can add Orgain or Sunwarrior or something, one of those protein powders. I can make certain protein bars, etc. But I'll focus on moderate to slightly high, but not super high protein intake, say 5 days a week. That's I'm not gonna, again, be the type of person that does everything every day. I don't have it in me. I'm very fluid. I feel things. So I don't do things in a mechanic, robotic way, because that doesn't work for me. It never has. Sometimes I'm not gonna crave it. I'm not gonna jam in protein. If I'm hungry, if it feels good, I'll eat it. And so far it's been that. I add edamame for dinner, sprouted lentils, cooked lentils. Now you can add spirulina, also it has protein. Peas, I add peas. Tofu is fantastic. Now tofu also decreases menopausal symptoms. I'm not gonna talk too much about soy here, but soy, we've all been misled to believe it's bad. If we get organic soy, it has absolutely fantastic multiple benefits for our hormonal system. It is can help with bone building, it can help with cognitive help, it can be preventative of a million things, heart cancer, etc. Absolutely fantastic, especially for menopausal women. It is the estrogen in plants sometimes decreases our xenoestrogens a lot in the body, which is from plastics. So it can have a balancing effect. If we're too high in estrogens, it can actually help xenoestrogens. The other thing I'm doing, and I've always done and I will always do, is seasonal diet, and whenever possible local and in conjunction with the weather. Now, I've lived in California for so long. Texas was slightly similar, but I didn't have the best diet there because it's just different. There it's different. But California, you can do raw food for 8 months out of the year, maybe 9. And if you're a Pitta, you do very well on that. If you're not a Pitta, if you're a Vata, you probably won't do so well on it. So it's very individual. I'm a high Pitta type, and I have strong digestion. Raw foods cool me off just right, to where I'm calmer, I'm more grounded, I'm more contained, I'm not hot, and so forth. So to me, and also with the weather, it's very beneficial because it's all local foods, right? So it's fantastic. Raw food has one amazing quality to it. It is improves our microbiome. Now we're gonna have a microbiome one way or another. The microbiome builds towards the foods we eat. If you only eat, say, raw meat, or only yogurt, or if you eat a lot of sweet potatoes, you're gonna have what breaks that down. If you have a lot of broccoli and beans, you're gonna have the bacteria that breaks that down, and it feels like for example, when I eat broccoli, I feel like I ate cotton puffs. It's so soft, so easy to digest. The absolutely no negative effects. The stuff that people say, gas and indigestion, no, none of that. No reflux, no, absolutely as if I've eaten, as I said, soothing cotton balls. I don't know what that feels like, but I imagine some soothing feeling of lightness. Anyways, so when we one thing that I'm realizing is when the diet is very high in animal products, it changes the microbiome in the body, and then oxalates become a problem. For some people with microbiome that is not optimal, oxalates become a problem and can cause stones. There is herbs for stones, like kidney gravel, kidney stones, but the better approach is the holistic, of course, not only herbs, not herbs for symptoms, as we said, or a pill for every ill. That leads us down a very, very wrong type of thinking path. But to, again, address the whole person, address the microbiome. Microbiome will build itself over time, given that we're far from taking our last antibiotics, because it takes a while for the body to rebuild after that. So as I said, if I'm, say, around 50 something kilos, and I'm having 60 to 80 grams of protein, you can calculate it. That is a little more than 1 gram of protein per kilo. That's kind of on the higher side for me. For years I never measured it. I was probably between 40 and 80, but without making any point about it. Now I'm making point to see. It's an experiment, because if we work out, we should get a certain amount of protein, and maybe for menopause, depending on digestion. For me, digestion still seems the same as always, so I think some of the advice about menopausal women taking protein is because digestion is not as optimal, considering the organs have had longer time to become polluted. So we have to do again the whole detox lymph liver thing. Lymph liver, and that's a cascade effect down. I already discussed all of my notes. So yeah, soy protein is absolutely interesting. I must actually say that I have not had soy protein, not soy protein isolate, soy protein concentrate, I think is the better one. I've never had soy protein, or I haven't had it in 20 years. Or maybe I've had it in maybe a Cliff Bar or something. I don't eat those almost ever. But the proteins I get are from peas and things like this, rice, etc. So I've not tried with the soy protein, not isolate, I think concentrate. I gotta double check on that. I'll try that too and see how I feel. But how I do protein from basically whole foods has worked well, and soy foods, edamame and tofu, it has worked very well, and it is very safe for kidneys, which is very important for some people. Some people maybe will not feel it so much in the kidneys, although kidneys are what causes heart health issues. And apparently the statistics is that I think 1 of 3 women that are postmenopausal has heart disease, and I think 1 of 2 dies of heart issues. So it is a very common thing, and it's always the kidneys that begin the cascade effect. So I do believe that we should be very careful of what we put in our mouth, not only for detox, but also how it will affect the kidneys, how it will affect the blood, how it will affect the lymph. What else have I been doing? Sage, I said the sage tea. I've been doing a combination pill of black cohosh, vitex. That doesn't give me any symptoms because the herbs are in smaller quantities, plus it has the homeopathic cell salt. Homeopathy is great. Now, what took my stress levels down, I mentioned that my main symptom was stress. It wasn't a herb, it was actually flower essences. I found mine, and once you find the one that is attuned to you, because flowers are they respond to your soul. If you and this particular flower are in a sacred dance, let's say, it will transform you on a soul level. So I did find mine for that particular situation. I was overstressed from all the moving, and that really took me down to kind of how I am. So there is different ways to approach it. Homeopathy is a great way. Germanic new medicine, I think it's a prerequisite. I think it's really important for us to understand our emotions and traumas, because otherwise we're swimming unconsciously through life, and everything seems kind of random and almost a process of life becomes a process of victimizing us. Now, when we look at ourselves, it's very important to not become victimized by life, over analyze life, and overthink that we somehow are deserving of more than what our life is, because that puts us in a constant unhappiness, and everything victimizes us, and it becomes a very vicious cycle that it's very difficult to exit, very difficult. So we have to have this attitude towards life: gratitude, acceptance, flow, letting go. Those are all the themes in my yoga classes. And even though they say for menopause, weights, resistance, I disagree as a fitness professional. I have 25 years of experience in the field. 20 professional, I think. About 20 professional before that. I was heavily studying it. So I do believe that we have to focus on balance as in any other age. Strength, fluidity, functional movement, joint mobility, circular brings circulation to the body. Now circulation is very important. Speaking of circulation, my classes that are in the second heart program, and recently I did another one for circulation, I forget it at the moment, it was before the Pilates program, that is everything on the toes. That is your second heart. When you pump the calves, such as if you put your feet down and you just lift your heel, I don't think you can see this, if you lift your heel like this, that 300 times, that improves your heart function. Absolutely fantastic. Now circular is really important because we don't understand how important it is for preserving the mobility in the body, moving the lymph, moving the blood, and moving chi. Pelvic floor work and Pilates, because traditionally in Chinese medicine there is very little circulation here, and that's why there is so many cancers of the reproductive system, or diseases of the reproductive system, because there isn't enough blood flow. That's where those stones I don't know how to call them. It's getting hot in here in my sauna. It's turned off, but it's gonna get hot in a little bit as the sun hits towards this side. I've been actually doing the sauna on the hottest days, because when I get in and when I turn it on, it's already at 120. So I'm already ready to sweat. But anyways, that aside, speaking of saunas, you can get, this took me years to buy this sauna. Our link, after I bought it, I got an affiliate link. So save it if you decide to buy it. It's not really affiliate. If you buy, they'll ask you who sent you. Save it, because I so much loved it that I joined their, I think it's an affiliate, but maybe it's ambassador program. And it's absolutely fantastic. It has a little kind of a sound system and in a light system, and you are in a little meditation room when you come in. It's kind of like a secluded space, but there is small saunas that you can fit in your bathroom that are from here down. There's the blanket sauna. There's different ways to induce sweating besides classes, workouts, etc. Really powerful. Hot springs, hot baths, those are all ways to induce sweating, especially if you drink something hot while you're sweating. I was talking about movement. All right. Movement can improve pretty much every symptom of menopause, PMS, hormonal imbalances, liver, organ, etc. imbalances. Movement alone, of course, is not enough, because we gotta think properly, believe properly, or not believe, but choose where we put our expectations and thoughts, how we process our emotions. Yoga and movement teaches us how to let go, so we're not holding to bitterness. Even if bitterness flows through us, we are learning how to release it, how not to hold on to emotion. Certain things I teach have taken me years to learn them myself, such as routine. I'm not a routine-oriented person. I've never cared for routine. Routine felt like jail for me. Now I thrive in routine, but I'm also not dogmatic. I flow in my day, but certain parts of my day have to contain certain elements. They're grounding and they're important. Certain things flow very well for me. Flow, letting go. I'm a queen of that. I didn't have to work for it, and that's why I don't know if the things that I've worked on or the things that I'm a better teacher at. That is the question. That's a big question, because I can let go very fast. I can flow through emotion, and also never leave the outer observer. I never get swept up where I'm enraged and I can't control myself. That is something that I gained through yoga, but letting go is something that I've always had. I actually forget everything. Not because my memory is so bad, but because I don't find things important enough to carry them with me, important in the large scale of things. So I just kind of toss most things. That is very important, because imagine if you have to drag everything with you. By the time you are 40, 50, 60, 70, there's a lot of bags that you gotta drag around everywhere. It's exhausting to keep those emotions alive. I've given this example, and it doesn't come from me. Emotions are entities. They have to stay alive. In order for them to be alive, they're gonna be hooked to you, and you're gonna feed them with your vital force. Once you let them go, remove them, release them, free them, you're free to keep your energy to yourself, vital energy. You don't have to feed that negative emotion. You don't have to drag it around. It is very important. So it's part of the whole situation. Liver, we spoke mostly about liver. Liver is anger. A lot of excess anger will damage the liver, and a lot of liver toxicity will cause anger. It's a two-way street. You can't separate the two. Fear and worry and anxiety is kidneys. So a lot of anxiety will damage the kidneys. A damaged kidney will cause an anxious state of mind. Lungs is grief. Heart is sorrow, sadness, happiness, joy. They have positive emotions too. uh, positive and negative, depending on if the organ is in balance or not. All right, 44 minutes. I think this is it. I'm kind of rambling now because I covered my main points. I don't go overboard on points because this is such a big subject and we can cover it all. But uh, in conclusion, before I start sweating here, exercise and move almost daily, if not daily. Not every day needs to be heavy, but lift some weights. I have a lot of weightlifting classes. Bands work well. Don't listen to the people that tell you to only lift, because they're misleading you. Only lifting will create fascia that is clumpy. Clumpy fascia will make you in the long run injury prone and weaker. It is counterintuitive. You think, oh, I'll lift very heavy and I'll be very strong. It does not work like that. Lots of protein does not build muscle. You gotta build muscle and support it with the proper amount of protein, with the proper nutrients. Calcium, I've been experimenting. I get calcium from my food. I get zinc, magnesium. Magnesium is really important, and they say every woman is magnesium deficient. That is not true for me. When I enter my foods in chronometer, and I don't eat like every woman, I'm always 200% of my magnesium need. So I don't supplement too often with magnesium, but it's probably a good idea. Especially the magnesium mind. It's not the threonate. I forget which form it is. The Mactane. It's pretty good. It pertains to brain function. So movement and sweating should be a form of a baseline for health. Food and water, another baseline, and mind, thoughts, which can be combined with exercise, because when we exercise we work on our thoughts. That's another baseline. Powerful stuff. And if we just patch it up with hormones, we will feel a little better, but I don't know that will do enough to really address the rest of the body and the rest of the mind. Oh, I was gonna say that I've added calcium supplement. I don't take anything daily, to be honest, because it just doesn't work for me that way. But I've added a calcium supplement from marine coral. I have to double check. I'll place it below. A lot of people say that they've already had osteoporosis, it improved it. So it's probably an interesting supplement. I think your best bet and safest bet is always greens and things, but greens with too high an animal protein diet may cause problems with oxalates. So far that is my understanding, because there isn't enough understanding on this, and there is not enough understanding of why some people get stones and why some don't. Now, oxalates are created in the body. You can't avoid them. Most of the oxalates, or half, are created from the body itself. So it's not like you can avoid them. It's more about the microbiome. It's more about what damages the kidneys and what microbiome bacteria eats up oxalates. So I think when we eat on the plant-based side, it's always a little safer. That doesn't mean you cannot have eggs, or you can decide this for yourself, or some form of fish or something. You can decide that for yourself. Maybe line caught wild fish, lowering pollutants, because again, plastics cause parasites in fish, parasites in us, because parasites are there because there is an issue already. Parasites are where there is lots of metals, plastics, they eat them up, nanoplastics. It's a whole cascading issue. Parasites are almost there to fix the situation, but because the situation is bad enough, they're not going to be able to completely fix it. We have to fix it via a whole body approach. Anyways, it's going towards an hour, but I haven't done a talk video in a while, and I hope I've brought one or two subjects that are going to be useful to you. In particular, of all these things that we discussed, I think they're baseline things anyways. They're just kind of things that we have to implement. Sleep is the one thing I didn't mention, but I think when you address the other things, sleep comes in. If we exercise daily and if we get some sunlight in the eyes, it regulates our circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms make us move through our daily rhythms with balance. If you have any questions or things you want me to talk about next time, let me know. I'm gonna get going now, and have a beautiful day or evening, and join me for our next yoga program. It's going to be a surprise, but I'm wrapping up the Body Awaken and we're gonna start something else. The suggestions are many and very good. We'll see which one I'll choose, because I'm tempted of all of them. Old school, early 30 minutes, everything in it, from intervals to weights to yoga to flow, vinyasa. Then there is flow and circulation organs. I can go back to herbs very soon, because hello, black cohosh, I'm very attracted to certain herbs. They just speak to me. But there is quite a few fluidity themes, fluidity with strength. We can do a lot, but it will be a surprise. I'll soon announce it, and I'll cover probably a lot of the suggestions just in the span of the next 3 months. So month by month I'll change the subject, but it will be epic. I will include some of those Pilates moves that made our lower core fantastic, like that. Fantastic. All right, goodbye.